Hey everyone, and welcome to Top Think. Today we'll learn about 12 amazing qualities of people who like to be alone. Now, let's begin. Do you spend a lot of time by yourself? If the answer is yes, then you probably have what's known as an introverted personality. You may be the type of person who feels drained around large groups of people. While others thrive in busy social settings, you enjoy relaxing, creating, or pursuing your passions behind closed doors. Most of your favorite activities are done in the comfort of your own home, which at least partially explains why you spend so much time alone. Unfortunately, many introverts are criticized and misunderstood. You may have heard people call you shy, quiet, or antisocial. They might assume you're a lousy communicator, a neglectful partner, or an unreliable friend. They may think it's strange that you can go multiple days without talking to people, and they don't understand how you find happiness without social connections. They may think less of you because you don't have hundreds of friends or a vast professional network. This might be a problem for an extroverted person, but introverted, solitary personalities don't find as much meaning in the same achievements. And that's often what makes them so interesting. A surprisingly large percentage of the population falls into this category of loner-type personalities. Some are highly gifted and driven individuals who use their ample alone time to pursue fantastic goals and dreams. Solitude allows these talented people to dive deep into their own heads, exploring complex problems and reflecting on the world around them. But the qualities of solitary personalities aren't limited to creative or intellectual gifts. There's a common stereotype that introverts don't know how to interact with people. People assume you can't make friends or form meaningful relationships because you spend a lot of time alone. In reality, solitary people possess amazing and unique social strengths that, in many cases, strengthen the bonds they form with other people. For example, introverted people typically maintain friendships for longer periods, sometimes their entire lives, because they invest in the depth and quality of their connections. People assume loners don't have much to offer, but most of the time that couldn't be further from the truth. To prove just how incredible solitary people can be, let's explore 12 amazing qualities of people who spend most of their time alone. Number 1. Easy to please. Introverts don't ask for much from the people around them, and most of the time just want to be left alone. While others seek out expensive hobbies and thrilling experiences, you're perfectly content with a quiet evening at home, reading a book, or working on a creative pursuit. For extroverted personalities, this can be difficult to wrap their heads around, but solitary people don't require much to find happiness. Number 2. Goal-driven motivation. Goal setting is one area where introverted personalities excel. They're driven and disciplined people who strive to make their dreams a reality, but they don't do it for other people. Some people work tirelessly on their goals because they want attention or validation. They want to stand in the spotlight, but solitary people aren't interested in making good impressions. They set lofty goals and they work so hard to achieve them because those goals are intrinsically meaningful. In other words, they do the things they love because they love them. Their genuine passion gives them the quiet but powerful motivation to excel and succeed. Number 3. Thriving in silence. For some people, nothing is worse in a conversation than a moment of silence. They'll say anything to avoid an awkward lapse in the conversation, but people who like to be alone, they don't feel the same social pressure. They're comfortable with silence because that's how they spend most of their time. When you spend most of your time alone, silence is hardly anything new. Number 4. The value of time. For solitary people, time is a precious resource. They treasure the moments they spend alone doing things they love, and they don't like wasting their time on anything else. Because introverts respect their own time and resources, they're equally respectful of the time and resources of others. They rarely ask people for favors unless absolutely necessary and never expect anyone to care for them. Introverts consistently give others respect and independence because they want the same things for themselves. Number 5. Talk a little, learn a lot. Solitary people spend a lot of time inside their heads. They enjoy the act of thinking like anyone else might enjoy a hobby or a passion. In moments of peace and quiet, they dive deep into their minds, often to reflect, explore, or create something new. For a solitary person, doing nothing can be a stimulating and rewarding use of their time. Because solitary people spend a lot of time thinking, they almost always have unique and exciting things to say. People who talk a lot but only learn a little end up repeating the same stories and recycling old information, rarely ingesting anything new. Solitary people talk a little but learn a lot, so they have plenty of ideas to explore. People may think it's strange how much time you spend lost in your thoughts, but your penchant for reflection makes you more interesting than you realize. Number 6. The spectator mentality. Introverts tend to be hyper-aware of the world around them. For the same reason they make good listeners, solitary people tend to be keen observers too. They have an exceptional eye for detail and they pay close attention to minor changes in their environments. For example, if someone gets a new haircut, an introvert will probably notice long before anyone else. Strong observational powers lead some introverts to adopt what's known as a spectator mentality. They view the world from a distance, especially in social situations, almost like a spectator watching an event from the sidelines. Because of this unique perspective, introverts notice patterns that other people don't, gaining meaningful insights into things like human nature or societal expectations. They rarely voice their discoveries out loud, but thanks to their observational powers, solitary people are often wise beyond their years. Number 7. Unstoppable self-sufficiency. Working with a solitary person has a learning curve. They don't perform especially well in team environments, but their drive and self-sufficiency are unparalleled when left alone. Introverts will put their heads down and work quietly on the things they love, whether anybody's watching or not. They may not like to network or socialize, but introverted personalities shine when left to their own devices. Number 8. Excellence in communication. Introverted personalities excel at communicating complex ideas. Not only do they spend more time thinking about complex subjects, but they also enjoy activities like reading and writing that naturally develop their communication skills. For example, introverts know how to organize and expand their ideas to create explanations anyone can understand. If you're a solitary person, you may not like talking to people all the time, but when you do talk, people listen. Number 9. Finely tuned listeners. Solitary people may not be the loudest or the most forthcoming people in the world, but somehow their conversations seem to last longer than anyone's. They know how to take an interest in people's lives, empathize with their problems, and ask thoughtful questions that others appreciate. But what really sets them apart from the crowd is their highly tuned listening skills. Solitary people are used to being the quietest in the room. While others practice sharing and talking, they've spent their lives honing their listening skills. They know when to pay attention and how to show engagement with well-timed gestures and comments. Not many people know how to really listen when others talk, but solitary people make it look easy. Number 10. Protectors of privacy. Few people understand the importance of personal privacy better than an introvert. They rarely share personal information and only spill secrets to people they really trust. Because they're so private, solitary people treat other people's secrets with the same level of respect. If you tell something private to a solitary person, you can be sure they'll never break your trust. Why? Well, because they don't see the value in telling other people. A solitary person would rather earn your trust and preserve your friendship than use your secrets for personal gain. For this reason, solitary people make some of the most trustworthy friends and partners that you'll ever know. Number 11. Easygoing partnerships. Just because someone likes to be alone, that doesn't mean they're not interested in forming relationships. Introverted, self-contained personalities make some of the best friends and partners because they don't rely on others to validate or entertain them. Solitary people are easy to please, and they don't ask much of their loved ones, but they also don't give as much as other partners. This can be challenging for some people. They may not know how to provide as much space as solitary people crave. But if you give them room to breathe, introverts can be some of the most loyal and easygoing partners that you'll ever meet. Number 12. Leading by example. Do solitary people make good leaders? In leadership positions, introverted personalities find a surprising amount of success. They don't like standing in the spotlight, and they never take credit for other people's work, even if it might move their career in a positive direction. And because they don't like the spotlight, they're more likely to give their team credit for their successes. This selfless behavior earns them the respect of their peers while motivating their subordinates to work harder. Introverted leaders also command respect by working harder than anyone. They lead by example, investing long hours and churning out high-quality work without anyone looking over their shoulder. Under introverted leaders, people often feel like their boss is fighting alongside them. Now, of course, there are areas where introverted leaders struggle. They may not be as vocal or outgoing as extroverted personalities. Now, you may not want them to be the face of the company, but when work needs to get done, few leaders are more productive and inspiring. Hey, thank you for watching Top Think, and be sure to subscribe because more incredible content is on the way.